What I'm about to tell you will change the way you see small dogs forever. It was a regular Tuesday afternoon in April when I learned that courage has nothing to do with size. My name is Marcus. I'm 34 years old, and I never imagined that my 3-pound Chihuahua named Peanut would become the hero who saved my daughter's life. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, do it now before this story continues. You need to hear every single word of what happened that day. I was working from home, sitting at my desk in the small office I had set up in the corner of our living room. My daughter, Emma, who had just turned 4 years old 3 weeks before, was playing with her dolls in her room upstairs. The house was quiet, peaceful. Just another ordinary day in our suburban neighborhood in Austin, Texas. Peanut was doing what he always did, following me around like a tiny shadow. People always laughed when they met him. A Chihuahua named Peanut. It seemed almost like a joke. He weighed barely 3 pounds, could fit in the palm of my hand, and had these huge brown eyes that made him look like a perpetually surprised cartoon character. My wife Sarah had brought him home 2 years ago from a rescue shelter, and honestly, I wasn't thrilled about it at first. I wanted a real dog, a German Shepherd, a Labrador, something that could actually protect the family, but Sarah had fallen in love with those big eyes, and Emma had squealed with delight the moment she saw him. So Peanut became part of our family, and I have to admit, despite my initial reservations, the little guy grew on me. He had personality, tons of it. He would bark at delivery trucks like he was some kind of guard dog, puffing out his tiny chest and acting 10 times bigger than he actually was. Sarah and I would laugh about it. Our fierce protector. We'd joke. Our miniature warrior. If only we had known how true that would become. That Tuesday started like any other. I had woken up at 6:30 a.m., made coffee, helped Emma get ready for her play date that was supposed to happen later that afternoon. Sarah had left early for her nursing shift at the hospital. She worked 12-hour days, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so it was just me, Emma, and Peanut at home. By noon, I was deep into a video conference call with my team. I work in software development, and we were troubleshooting a major bug in our latest application. My headphones were on. My attention was completely focused on my computer screen, trying to figure out why the code wasn't executing properly. Emma had come downstairs around 11:30 a.m. asking for lunch. I had paused my work, made her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, her favorite, poured her a glass of apple juice, and watched her eat at the kitchen table. Peanut sat right beside her chair, as he always did during meals, hoping for crumbs. Emma would giggle and sneak him tiny pieces of bread, even though he had told her 100 times not to feed him human food. But what 4-year-old listens to that? She loved that dog, and that dog absolutely adored her. Wherever Emma went, Peanut followed. When she slept, he slept curled up at the foot of her bed. When she played, he played. They were inseparable. After lunch, Emma had asked if she could go play in her room. I said yes, reminded her to stay upstairs, told her I had just one more meeting and then we could watch her favorite cartoon. Together, she nodded, gave me a big hug, and ran upstairs with Peanut trotting behind her. I could hear her little footsteps on the wooden floor above me, could hear her talking to her dolls in that sweet, high-pitched voice that only 4-year-olds have. Everything was normal. Everything was safe, or so I thought. I went back to my desk, put my headphones back on, rejoined the meeting. My colleagues were discussing potential solutions, throwing around technical terms, debating different approaches. I was typing notes, half listening, half thinking about the problem. The clock on my computer screen showed 12:47 p.m. I remember that time specifically because I glanced at it thinking I only had 13 more minutes until the meeting would end and I could take a break. But what happened in the next 60 seconds would haunt me for the rest of my life. I didn't hear it at first. My headphones blocked out most external sounds. But Peanut heard it. Dogs have hearing that's 4 times more sensitive than humans. They can detect frequencies we can't even imagine. And Peanut detected something that made every instinct in his tiny body go on high alert. Someone was opening our back door. Our back door that was supposed to be locked. Our back door that led directly from our kitchen into our fenced backyard. Living in Texas, a lot of families have service people coming and going, pool cleaners, lawn maintenance, repair workers. Our neighborhood was generally safe, quiet, filled with young families like ours. We had a 6-foot wooden fence around our backyard, a gate that was always latched. But that gate had a simple latch. Nothing sophisticated. Nothing that would stop someone determined to get in. And someone or something had gotten in. I found out later, after everything happened, after the police investigation, after reviewing our security camera footage, that our neighbor 2 houses down had adopted a pit bull 3 months earlier. A rescue dog named Duke, a massive 75-pound male pit bull with a history that nobody really knew about. The neighbor, an elderly man named Mr. Henderson, meant well. He had always loved dogs, wanted company after his wife passed away. But Duke had issues, aggression issues, fear issues, issues that Mr. Henderson either didn't recognize or chose to ignore. That morning, Mr. Henderson had left Duke in his backyard while he went to the grocery store. Duke had somehow managed to jump the fence, and pit bulls are incredibly athletic. Despite their bulk, had wandered through our neighborhood, found our gate, pushed it open with his powerful snout, and entered our backyard. And then he had done something that still makes my blood run cold when I think about it. He had pushed against our back door, an old door with a loose frame that Sarah and I had been meaning to replace for months, and the door had simply given way. Duke entered our house. A 75-pound pit bull with unknown triggers, unknown trauma, unknown aggression levels, walked right into our kitchen, into the house where my 4-year-old daughter was playing upstairs, into the house where I was completely oblivious, headphones on, staring at a computer screen. But Peanut knew. Peanut, my 3-pound Chihuahua, that I had once dismissed as useless for protection, knew something was terribly wrong. I didn't hear Duke enter. I didn't hear the clicking of his claws on our tile floor. I didn't hear his heavy breathing. But Peanut heard everything. And then I heard Peanut. I heard a sound I had never heard him make before. Not his usual yappy bark at delivery trucks. Not his playful growl when we played tug-of-war with his toys. This was different. This was primal. This was a sound of pure, raw warning. A sound that cut through my headphones, through my concentration, through everything. A sound that made me rip off my headphones and jump to my feet. And what I saw when I turned around froze my blood. Peanut was at the bottom of our staircase, his tiny body positioned between the stairs and the kitchen. His fur was standing straight up, making him look slightly bigger but still impossibly small. His teeth were bared, tiny teeth that couldn't possibly do any real damage to anything bigger than a mouse. And he was barking with an intensity I had never witnessed. Barking at Duke, the massive pit bull who had frozen in our kitchen, his eyes locked on Peanut, his body tense, his lips beginning to curl back. For a split second, maybe 2 seconds, maybe 3, time seemed to stop. I saw Duke, I saw Peanut, I saw our staircase, and I heard Emma. I heard my daughter's voice from upstairs, innocent and unaware, calling out, "Daddy, what's Peanut barking at? Can I come down?" And that's when everything exploded into chaos. Duke's attention shifted. His head turned toward the stairs, toward Emma's voice, toward my little girl. And I saw something in his eyes that every parent has nightmares about. I saw predatory focus. I saw trigger activation. I saw a dog whose past traumas and aggressive instincts had just locked onto a target. He took one step toward the stairs. Just one step. But that one step was all Peanut needed to make the most courageous decision of his tiny life. My 3-pound Chihuahua launched himself at a 75-pound pit bull. Not to defend territory, not to defend me, to defend Emma. To protect the little girl he loved more than his own life. And what happened next was the most heroic thing I've ever witnessed. Peanut didn't hesitate. There was no moment of calculation, no pause to consider the impossible odds. He simply acted on pure instinct and love. He launched his tiny 3-pound body directly at Duke's face, barking with a ferocity that seemed to come from a dog 10 times his size. His small jaws snapped at the pit bull's snout. His tiny paws scratched at Duke's eyes. And for a brief, surreal moment, the massive dog actually stepped back, confused and startled by this miniature attacker. I was already moving. The second I saw Duke take that step toward the stairs, toward Emma, my body had gone into autopilot. I was running toward them, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat, my hands already reaching out even though I was still 15 feet away. But everything was happening so fast, too fast. Duke recovered from his initial shock almost immediately. He shook his massive head, and Peanut went flying. My little dog hit the wall with a sickening thud and fell to the floor. "Meme, stay upstairs. Lock your door." I screamed at the top of my lungs, my voice cracking with terror. I didn't know if she heard me. I didn't know if she understood. All I knew was that Duke was now focused entirely on Peanut, and Peanut, despite having just been thrown against a wall, was getting back on his feet. This is where I need you to understand something about Chihuahuas. People think they're just anxious, yappy little dogs with no real purpose. But Chihuahuas were originally bred in Mexico as companions. Yes, but also as guardians. They have a prey drive, a protective instinct that's disproportionate to their size. They don't back down. They don't calculate odds. When someone they love is threatened, they fight. And Peanut was fighting for Emma with everything he had. He charged again. Duke snarled and lunged, his jaws opening wide, jaws that could exert 235 pounds of pressure per square inch, jaws that could crush bone. I saw it happening in slow motion, Duke's head snapping down, his teeth aimed at Peanut's tiny body. I was still running, still too far away, my voice hoarse from screaming. And then Peanut did something that probably saved his life. He didn't try to meet Duke head-on. Instead, he darted to the side at the last possible second, using his small size and agility to his advantage. Duke's jaws snapped shut on empty air. But Duke was fast, too. Pit bulls are incredibly athletic, powerful, quick. He pivoted, his claws scraping on our tile floor, and went after Peanut again. And this time, he connected. I heard Peanut yelp, a sound that pierced straight through my heart, as Duke's teeth caught him on his left hind leg. I saw blood. I saw my tiny dog being shaken like a rag doll in Duke's massive jaws. And no, I don't remember deciding to do what I did next. I just did it. I threw myself between them, my hands reaching for Duke's collar, trying to pull him off Peanut. And that's when Duke's attention shifted to me. He released Peanut, who fell to the floor in a small, bloody heap, and turned on me. His eyes were wild now, completely lost in whatever trauma or instinct had taken over. He growled, a deep, rumbling sound that vibrated through his entire body, and then he lunged at me. His teeth sank into my right forearm. The pain was instant and excruciating. I felt his teeth punctured through my skin, felt the pressure of his jaws clamping down, felt the warmth of my own blood running down my arm. I tried to pull away, but that only made him bite harder. He was shaking his head now, trying to tear at my flesh. His full 75 pounds of muscle and fury focused on destroying whatever was in his mouth. I fell backward, hitting the floor hard, Duke on top of me, still locked onto my arm. I could smell his breath, hot, metallic, terrifying. I could see his eyes, completely glazed over, unreachable. This wasn't a pet anymore. This was a predator in full attack mode. And I was losing. I tried to use my free hand to push him off, to hit him, to do anything, but he was too strong, too focused, too far gone into his aggressive state. And that's when Peanut saved my life. Despite his injured leg, despite the blood matting, his tan and white fur, despite having just been nearly killed himself, Peanut attacked Duke again. He bit down on Duke's ear, one of the most sensitive parts of a dog's body, and pulled with all his tiny might. Duke yelped and released my arm, turning to snap at Peanut. But Peanut had already let go and darted away, limping badly on his injured leg, but still moving, still fighting, still refusing to give up. I scrambled to my feet, clutching my bleeding arm, my head spinning from shock and pain. I could hear Emma crying upstairs now, calling for me, and that sound gave me strength I didn't know I had. I grabbed a chair from our kitchen table, one of those heavy wooden chairs that Sarah had insisted on buying because they looked rustic and charming, and I swung it as hard as I could at Duke. The chair connected with his shoulder, not hard enough to seriously hurt him, but enough to disorient him, to break his focus. He stumbled sideways, growling, confused now, not sure which threat to address. Peanut was on one side, still barking despite his injury, limping in circles, trying to keep Duke's attention. I was on the other side, holding the chair like a weapon, my arm dripping blood onto our floor, my whole body shaking with adrenaline and fear. "Get out," I roared at Duke, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. "Get out of my house." I swung the chair again, and this time Duke actually backed up. He was starting to come back to himself. I could see it. The wild glaze in his eyes was beginning to clear. He looked around, seemed to suddenly realize he was in an unfamiliar place, surrounded by unfamiliar threats. His tail, which had been stiff and high during the attack, began to lower. But I wasn't taking any chances. I kept the chair between us, kept moving toward him, backing him, toward the kitchen, toward the open back door he had come through. Peanut limped along beside me, still barking, still playing his part in driving this intruder out. And Duke, perhaps sensing that he was outnumbered, perhaps coming out of whatever episode had triggered his aggression, began to retreat. He backed through the kitchen, his eyes darting between me and Peanut, his body language shifting from aggressive to uncertain. And then, with one final growl that sounded more defensive than threatening, he turned and bolted out the back door into our yard. I followed him as far as the doorway, watched him jump our fence with terrifying ease, and disappear into the neighborhood. Then I slammed the door shut, locked it, and leaned against it, my legs finally giving out. I slid down to the floor, my back against the door, my injured arm cradled against my chest, and for a moment I just sat there, breathing hard, trying to process what had just happened. The whole attack had probably lasted less than 3 minutes. 3 minutes that felt like 3 hours. 3 minutes that had changed everything. And then, I heard Peanut whimper. My little hero was lying about 10 feet away from me, on his side, his injured leg stretched out at an unnatural angle, blood pooling beneath him. His breathing was rapid and shallow, his eyes half, and I realized that while Peanut had saved Emma, while he had saved me, he had paid a terrible price for that courage. "Peanut!" I whispered, crawling toward him, ignoring the pain in my own arm, ignoring everything except my injured dog. "Peanut!" "Buddy, hold on. Please, hold on." I heard Emma's door open upstairs, heard her small feet running toward the stairs. "Daddy, Daddy, what happened?" "I heard scary noises. Stay up there, baby," I called out, trying to keep my voice calm, even though I was anything but calm. "Daddy's okay, but don't come down yet. I need you to stay in your room for just a few more minutes, okay? Is Peanut okay?" Her voice was high, frightened, on the verge of tears. I looked down at Peanut, at my brave little dog who had fought a dog 25 times his size to protect her. His eyes opened slightly, found mine, and even in his pain, even in his condition, I swear I saw something in those eyes, something that said, "Is she safe? Did I protect her? Peanut's going to be fine, sweetheart." I lied, praying desperately that I could make it true. "He's just tired. He's just resting. But I need you to do something very important for Daddy. Can you do that?" "Yes, Daddy. I need you to stay in your room and call Mommy on the phone I gave you, okay? Can you do that? Tell Mommy to come home right now. Tell her it's an emergency. Can you do that for me?" "Okay, Daddy." I heard her little feet running back to her room. I turned my full attention to Peanut. I gently, carefully scooped him up in my good arm, trying not to jostle his injured leg. He whimpered, a sound so small and pitiful it broke my heart. Blood from his wound soaked into my shirt, mixing with the blood from my own injury. "I've got you, buddy," I whispered to him. "You saved her. You saved my baby girl. You're the bravest dog in the whole world, and I'm going to save you now. I promise." I needed to get to the hospital. We both did. But I also needed to make sure Emma was safe first. I needed to make sure Duke wasn't coming back. I needed to. My head was spinning. Shock was setting in. I could feel it, that cold, numb feeling creeping through my body, making my thoughts fuzzy, my movements slow. I heard sirens in the distance. Someone must have heard the commotion, must have called 911. Thank God for nosy neighbors. Thank God for people who pay attention. But would they get here in time? The next 20 minutes were a blur of flashing lights, urgent voices, and overwhelming chaos. 2 police cruisers arrived first, followed almost immediately by an ambulance. I was still sitting on my kitchen floor, holding Peanut in my lap, when I heard the pounding on my front door. "Police! Is anyone hurt?" We received a 911 call about a dog attack. "We're in here!" I managed to shout, my voice hoarse. "Front doors unlocked. Come in." The door burst open and 2 officers rushed in, hands on their weapons, eyes scanning for threats. When they saw me sitting in a pool of blood, holding a small, limp dog, my arm mangled and still bleeding, one of them immediately called for the EMTs, while the other approached carefully. "Sir, are you injured? Is that your blood?" "Mine and my dog's," I said, my words slurring slightly. Going into shock now. He saved my daughter. He saved us all. We need to get him to a vet Right now. Please. The EMTs are coming in now, sir. Let's take care of you first. No. I held Peanut closer, protective. My dog first. He's dying. I'll be fine. Emma, my daughter, she's upstairs. She's safe. She's 4. She's calling my wife. But Peanut needs help now. The officer looked at his partner, then back at me. I could see the conflict in his eyes. Protocol set to treat the woman first. But he could also see that I wasn't going to cooperate unless Peanut got help. He made a decision. Rodriguez, call animal control. Tell them we need an emergency vet transport. Tell them we have a small dog. Severe injuries from a large dog attack. Needs immediate medical attention. The aunties came in 2 of them. A man and a woman, both moving with practiced efficiency. The woman knelt beside me, immediately assessing my arm, while her partner radioed for additional support. Sir, I'm Emily. I'm a paramedic. That's a serious bite wound. We need to get you to the hospital. You're losing a lot of blood. My dog first, I repeated stubbornly. Please. He saved my daughter's life. Emily looked at Peanut, her professional demeanor softening for just a moment. She reached out carefully, checked his pulse, examined his injury. He's in critical condition, she said quietly. But he's still fighting. The vet ambulance is 5 minutes out. We're going to stabilize you while we wait. Okay. I need you to let me wrap your arm. I nodded. As long as someone was coming for Peanut, I could cooperate. Emily's partner, whose name I later learned was Mike, went upstairs to check on Emma. I heard him talking to her gently through her locked door, heard her crying, asking about me and Peanut. He told her we were both going to be okay, that her mommy was on the way, that she had been so brave to call for help. Emily worked quickly on my arm, wrapping it in thick gauze to slow the bleeding. She started an IV, explaining that I needed fluids, that I'd lost a significant amount of blood. I barely heard her. My entire focus was on Peanut, on the shallow rise and fall of his tiny chest, on keeping him warm, on willing him to hold on just a little bit longer. The most terrifying thing about those minutes was how quiet Peanut had become. He wasn't whimpering anymore, wasn't moving, just breathing, barely. I whispered to him, constantly, "Stay with me, buddy. Stay with me. Emma needs you. I need you. You're not just a dog, you understand? You're family. You're a hero. Heroes don't quit. So don't you dare quit on me now." Animal control arrived with a veterinary technician named Dr. Lisa Chun from the Emergency Animal Hospital. She took one look at Peanut and immediately prepared an emergency transport crate with heated blankets and oxygen. "I'm taking him straight to surgery," she said, gently taking Peanut from my arms. "What's his name?" "Peanut," I managed, feeling tears streaming down my face as I let him go. "His name is Peanut, and he's the bravest dog in the world. I'll take good care of him," Dr. Chun promised. "He's a fighter, I can tell. We're going to do everything we can." She placed Peanut carefully in the transport crate, secured the oxygen mask over his tiny snout, and rushed out to her vehicle. As soon as Peanut was gone, I felt the last of my strength leave me. Emily and Mike got me onto a stretcher, loaded me into the ambulance. I heard one of the police officers saying they had located the pit bull's owner, that Mr. Henderson was devastated, that Duke had been secured and would be evaluated. I heard them talking about witness statements, about liability, about protocol. None of it mattered to me. All I could think about was Peanut fighting for his life in surgery, and Emma traumatized in her room, and Sarah probably driving like a maniac to get home. "My daughter," I said weakly to Emily, as the ambulance started moving. Someone needs to stay with her until my wife gets there. She's only 4. She can't be alone. Officer Rodriguez is staying with her, Emily assured me. And we've been in contact with your wife. She's 10 minutes from your house. Your daughter is safe, I promise you. I closed my eyes, trying to fight the waves of dizziness washing over me. The pain in my arm was becoming unbearable, now that the adrenaline was wearing off. Emily gave me something for the pain through my 4, and I felt the edges of consciousness starting to blur. But before I let myself drift, I needed to know. The vet hospital, I mumbled. Where did they take Peanut? Cedar Park Emergency Veterinary Clinic, Emily said. It's the best in the area. He's in good hands. Tell my wife, I whispered. Tell Sarah. Tell Sarah. Tell her to go to Peanut after she gets Emma. Tell her I'll be fine. But Peanut, he can't be alone. He saved us. He saved our little girl. He can't die alone. I'll make sure she knows, Emily promised, squeezing my good hand. Rest now. You've lost a lot of blood. You need to rest. I wanted to fight it, wanted to stay awake, wanted to know what was happening. But my body had other plans. The medication, the blood loss, the shock. It all caught up with me at once. The last thing I remember before everything went black was the image of Peanut launching himself at Duke. 3 pounds of courage, facing down 75 pounds of fury. My tiny warrior, my daughter's guardian angel. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, my arm heavily bandaged and elevated, an IV in my other arm, monitoring equipment beeping steadily around me. The room was dim evening, I thought, based on the fading light through the window, and sitting in the chair beside my bed, her eyes red from crying, her hand gripping mine, was Sarah. Marcus, she whispered when she saw my eyes open. Thank God you're awake. Emma. My voice came out as a croak. My throat felt like sandpaper. She's fine. She's with my mom. She's scared, but she's not hurt. Not even a scratch. You and Peanut, you protected her. Sarah's voice broke. The police told me everything. The officers, the EMTs. Everyone said if Peanut hadn't attacked that pit bull when he did, if he hadn't drawn the dog's attention away from the stairs, she couldn't finish. Didn't need to. We both knew you. What would have happened if Duke had reached Emma? Peanut, I managed. Where is he? Is he? I couldn't say the word, couldn't even think it. Sarah's expression changed. Her tears fell harder, and my heart stopped. No, please, no, not after everything he did. Not after he gave everything to save us. He's alive, Sarah said quickly, seeing my panic. He's alive, Marcos. He made it through surgery. But, she paused, choosing her words carefully. Dr. Chun said, it was close, very close. Duke's bite fractured his femur, tore muscles, damaged nerves. They had to put a pin in his leg, and he lost so much blood. They weren't sure if he'd make it through the night. But he did, I asked desperately. He made it through the night. He's still fighting, Sarah said. It's been 14 hours since the attack. You've been out for most of it. The doctor sedated you heavily because you needed rest. But Peanut is still holding on. Dr. Chun called an hour ago. She said, he's stable, critical, but stable, she said. Sarah smiled through her tears. She said he's the toughest patient she's ever had, that any other dog his size wouldn't have survived the initial attack, let alone the surgery. But Peanut is still fighting. I need to see him. I tried to sit up, immediately regretted it as pain shot through my arm and dizziness hit me. You need to rest. Sarah pushed me gently back down. The doctors want to keep you for at least another 24 hours. You needed 47 stitches. Marcus, 47. You have significant nerve damage. You're going to need physical therapy, and you're still recovering from the blood loss. I don't care, I said stubbornly. That dog saved our daughter's life. He saved my life. I need to see him. I need him to know. I need him to know he's not alone. Sarah looked at me for a long moment. Then she did something I'll love her for forever. She pulled out her phone. Dr. Chun gave me her personal number, she said. She said you'd probably want a video call, said most pet owners of heroes do. Most pet owners of heroes? I repeated. Apparently, this isn't the first time she's treated a small dog that fought off a larger one to protect their family. Sarah explained as she dialed. She said she sees it more often than people think, that small dogs don't know they're small when someone they love is in danger. The phone rang twice before Dr. Chun's face appeared on the screen. Sarah, how's Marcus? Awake, Sarah said, turning the phone so the doctor could see me, and demanding to see his hero. Dr. Chun smiled a tired but genuine smile. I thought he might be. Hold on, let me take you to him. The camera moved, and I saw the veterinary ICU, a small, quiet room with several kennels, monitoring equipment, the soft glow of heat lamps. And then the camera focused on one particular kennel, and I saw him. Peanut, my little warrior, wrapped in bandages, his left hind leg in a cast, tubes and wires attached to his tiny body, an oxygen line near his nose. But alive, his eyes were closed, but I could see his chest rising and falling steadily. He's sedated right now, Dr. Chun explained softly. We're keeping him comfortable while he heals. The next 48 hours are critical, but every hour he holds on, his chances improve. Can he hear me? I asked, my voice breaking. Animals are remarkable, Dr. Chun said. Even under sedation, they often respond to familiar voices. Talk to him. Let him know you're there. Sarah held the phone closer to me, and I stared at Peanut's small form on the screen. Hey, buddy, I whispered. It's me. It's Dad. You did it, Peanut. You saved Emma. You saved all of us. You're the bravest, most incredible dog in the entire world. And I swear on everything I hold sacred. Peanut's ear twitched. Just slightly, but it twitched. You're a fighter, little man, I continued, tears streaming freely down my face. Now, just like you fought that big, mean dog, now you need to fight to get better, because Emma needs you. She's been crying for you. She made me promise that you'd come home. So you need to keep fighting, okay? You need to come home. Most people wouldn't believe what I saw next, but Sarah saw it too. Dr. Chun saw it, and none of us could deny it. Peanut's eyes opened, just a crack, just for a second. But he opened his eyes, and even through the phone screen, even through the sedation and the pain, I could see recognition. He knew my voice. He knew I was there. And then his tail, his tiny, bandaged tail moved. One small wag. One tiny movement that said, I hear you. I'm fighting. I'm not giving up. 3 days later, I was discharged from the hospital with my arm in a sling and strict instructions about physical therapy. But I didn't go home. Sarah drove me straight to Cedar Park Emergency Veterinary Clinic because Peanut was ready to come. Home too? Dr. Chun met us at the entrance, and the smile on her face told me everything I needed to know before she even spoke. He defied every expectation, she said. His recovery has been nothing short of miraculous. That little dog has a will to live that I've rarely seen. She led us to the recovery room, and there he was, Peanut, sitting up in his kennel, his left leg still in a cast, but his eyes bright and alert, and when he saw me, he went absolutely crazy, barking, whimpering, his tiny tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. Dr. Chun opened the kennel, and despite his injury, despite everything, Peanut tried to jump into my arms. I carefully picked him up with my good arm, holding him against my chest, and I completely lost it. I sobbed like a baby, holding this 3-pound hero who had saved my family. "You did it, buddy," I whispered into his fur. "You're coming home. You're coming home to Emma." Sarah was crying too, gently petting Peanut's head. "Thank you," she whispered to him. "Thank you for protecting our baby girl." The ride home was surreal. Peanut sat in my lap the entire time, his head resting against my chest, occasionally licking my hand as if to say, "We made it. We're okay." I kept thinking about how close we had come to losing him, how close we had come to losing Emma, and how this tiny dog that I had once dismissed as too small to be a real protector had proven me so devastatingly wrong. When we pulled into our driveway, Emma was waiting at the window with Sarah's mom. The moment she saw us, she started screaming, "Peanut! Peanut! Daddy! Peanut! Home!" She ran out the front door, and I carefully knelt down so she could see him. Emma's face, the pure joy, the relief, the love on my 4-year-old daughter's face. That's an image I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. She gently touched Peanut's head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You saved me," she whispered to him. "You're my hero, Peanut, my brave, brave hero." And Peanut licked her face, his tail wagging despite the pain he must have been in. The recovery process was long. Physical therapy for both me and Peanut, vet visits, pain medication, careful monitoring. But every single day, I watched that little dog fight to get better. Not for himself, for Emma. Because wherever she went, he still wanted to follow. Even with a cast on his leg, even hobbling on 3 legs, he refused to be left behind. 6 weeks later, they removed his cast. The vet said he'd always have a slight limp, that the nerve damage meant his left leg would never be quite as strong as before. But Peanut didn't care. The first day he could walk normally again, he ran. He ran up and down our stairs. He ran around our backyard. He ran after Emma, reclaiming his position as her shadow, her protector, her best friend. What I learned from that day changed me forever. Courage isn't about size. It's not about strength or power. It's about heart. It's about loving someone so much that you'll face impossible odds to protect them. It's about refusing to back down even when every logical part of your brain says you should. Peanut taught me that. My 3-pound Chihuahua taught me what it means to be truly brave. As for Duke, the pit bull, Mr. Henderson surrendered him to a specialized rescue organization that works with aggressive dogs. Duke wasn't evil. He was traumatized, poorly trained, in the wrong environment. The rescue placed him with an experienced handler who could give him the structure and rehabilitation he needed.
"I don't hate Duke. How could I?"
He was a dog acting on instinct, on past trauma, on fear. But I'll never forget what he taught me about vigilance, about home security, about never taking safety for granted. Today, 2 years later, Peanut is 7 years old. He still has that slight limp. He still follows Emma everywhere. She's 6 now, in 1st grade, and every day when she gets off the school bus, Peanut is waiting at the door. And every single person who meets him hears his story. Because the world needs to know that heroes come in all sizes. That bravery isn't measured in pounds or inches. That sometimes the smallest among us have the biggest hearts. Emma tells everyone at school about the day her Chihuahua saved her from a pit bull. Most of the kids don't believe her. They think it's impossible. How could a tiny dog fight off a huge one? But I was There, I saw it, and I'll spend the rest of my life being grateful that Sarah brought home that useless little dog from the rescue shelter, because Peanut isn't just a pet. He's family. He's a hero. He's living proof that love conquers fear, that courage conquers size, and that sometimes the greatest warriors come in the smallest packages. If you made it to the end of this story, you're subscribe to this channel, like this video, turn on notifications, and share this with 3 people who need to hear about real courage. Because stories like Peanut's need to be told. Heroes like him need to be celebrated. And remember, never underestimate the small ones. Because when it matters most, when someone they love is in danger, they'll prove they're giants. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me honor my hero. And hug your pets tonight. They love you more than you'll ever know.